This is welcome to the new media room here that we're in the process of completing. Not there yet. We're probably about another month or so away, but we believe this will be a really a cool opportunity for our recruits. We'll be able to do a bunch of things in here, podcasts. We'll be able to let our players do some interviews with Kim, and then also be able to do all of our social media out of here as well. So pretty excited about this room and what this room will bring. Had a good bye week. We practiced 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then came back, I guess, on Sunday. So I guess that would be the fourth day. And then all the coaches were on the road recruiting. I believe we were able to, I think we hit 50 games, 50 football games as a staff. Be able to go to a bunch of halves of different games and travel all over the place and get to a bunch of schools. And it was great to watch those kids compete for the first time live, and be great to meet their high school head coaches, which a lot of times you weren't able to do because of COVID, other than through the computer. So that was all good. Good evaluation, good self-scout. Looked to see where we were as a football team, where we were as a program. All of our committed players are very public committed. They're all over the internet, continuing to recruit others, and that's always the best thing you can do. So we're excited about where we're headed. We know we got a big game coming up Saturday night. Got a whiteout. So just like in Penn State, true to form, we'll be in our navy blue jersey. The fans will be in white. And as always, we'll be now back into our normal routine of white on the road, blue at home. Now that the summer month of September is by us, we know this team very well. UCLA, certainly, a lot of the guys on their starting skill guys. I've recruited there. When I was at UCLA with Dorian and Kyle and Chase Cota. I know those three guys extremely well. And then obviously Chip has done a great job of building that team over a 4-year span, and he's playing with a lot of seniors now. And there's a veteran team. They've been in the system now for all 4 full seasons, and we know that we got our work cut out for us on offense and on defense against that team. And we're excited about that opportunity. In terms of our own team, we've done some good things, but we haven't won enough games yet. So we recognize that. We've played 3 very, very good teams, 2 top 10 teams. San Diego State will end up being in that group as well. I know they're top 25 right now, but that's a very good football team. But individually, I love the way Stanley Berryhill has played. I love the way Anthony Pandy has played. I love the way Ciro has played. I think that we've got some really good football players as individuals. Now we have to continue to play better as a team. I know we've got I showed our team some statistics over the bye week. We've outgained our opponents 3 out of 4 times. We've had time of possession better 3 out of 4 games. Our red zone deficiency showed up against BYU and against Oregon with turnovers. But we're excited about where things are headed. And we believe that if we continue to be a tough physical football team, what Arizona football is made of, we'll have a chance to have a good remaining year and many others after that.
Raise your hand, please. Go ahead, Michael.
What was the biggest thing that Jordan McLeod gained from the bye week practices?
Experience would certainly be number one. So really, as he was the third quarterback, really for the 2 games, let's call it the San Diego State and BYU game, he was getting limited to 0, almost no reps on our offense. NAU week, he became the number 2 quarterback. And he got some reps. Then he went in the game, had 12 plays, I think it was total. Then he had all the reps for Oregon. He had all the reps with the starting group this past 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then he had all the reps on Sunday. So I think that experience will really help them.
Is there an ideal time for a bye week, and was this a good time for you guys?
I thought it was a good time for a bye week. We've played one Pac-12 game, so we have 8 Pac-12 games left. Told our team it's like hockey. The first period's over. We got the second and third period left to play. We've got to do a good job on those periods to continue to improve. I think it comes at a good time in terms of get the first really have like 8 weeks of football when you talk about training camp and the season. So now you take a little break for a weekend, and then you get to go do it again for 8 weeks. So it kind of came at halftime, even though it was only at the first 4 games of the season.
Jedd, one of the biggest questions in terms of the offensive play calling that we're hearing is the plays to the short boundary. Right hash to the right boundary, left hash to the left boundary in terms of the jet sweeps and some of the screen passes. How would you best describe to people why those plays can work?
Yeah, well, the boundary run game and the boundary passing game in college is very different than in pro football. In pro football, you very rarely would ever run into the boundary. You very rarely do much in the boundary. In college football, you get so much field pressure that a lot of times most of those plays were alerted away from blitz. So if you had blitz coming to the field, you would run into the boundary. If you had blitz coming from the boundary, we would run to the field. So there might be some times that we've called some jet sweeps or we've called wide receiver screen or two, and we were just throwing away from the pressure or running away from the pressure, not necessarily in terms of ideal on every time, but I know that there's plenty of good plays that can be made into the boundary, especially if you're going fast. If you're going fast, you don't really want to run your guys on both sides of the field. You just kind of live with the formation that's built.
Right. A handful of teams picked up their first win this past weekend. I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of those games, or is that something that you'll pass on to your players that, hey, some other teams that were struggling got off the well, I guess, and now can motivate that?
No, like I saw Florida State beat Syracuse, but we got to deal with UCLA, and we have to beat UCLA, and it doesn't really necessarily, each week is different. Each week is completely different. I think that we've got to deal with our opponent this week, and then next week we deal with our opponent next week, and the wins are going to come. They always do. And it's just a matter of when they come and how we have to earn the right to win. And if we earn the right to win, we'll win. That means we have to play good on all 3 phases. That means that we have to not turn the ball over excessively. We have to not have penalties that could possibly change an outcome of a game. We have to be able to play for 60 minutes. And when that happens and we earn that right, then we'll start winning. And then usually, like turnovers, they're contagious. Winning becomes contagious, as does takeaways.
Rich.
Jedd, can you talk about, I don't know if you can share or not, where you were this weekend, what schools you visited, what your message to the recruits were, and what their feedback was?
I don't think I'm specifically allowed to say where I was, but Twitter certainly had that down. But what I was able to do is see a lot of our committed players. I think I saw 5 of our committed players. And you don't get to talk to the players, but the players certainly came out and were very happy that we were there. I was able to be in the state of Arizona, which was very important to me on Friday night. It would have been easy to stay at some other games out west, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make sure I was in the state of Arizona at least 2 games, which I was able to accomplish, and be able to see some really good teams and really good football, and excited where things are headed with our recruiting class.
Justin, how do you look back on your time at UCLA?
UCLA was good. It was a short. It was a short time. I got there, and I love Jim Mora. Jim Mora's a great guy. And Jim Mora called me when I was at Michigan and asked me to come run the offense. They were just coming off the only losing season he had. He had 4 winning seasons, and then they're coming off of a 3-9 season. And Josh Rosen was our starting quarterback. And went out there, and I think we beat Texas A&M in a crazy game, beat Hawaii. I think we scored 9 touchdowns in a row. And then we had an unbelievable game against Memphis where we lost 55-52. And then, had some good games throughout the year, went to a bowl game, became the interim head coach, had a lot of great memories of Dan Guerrero and Josh Rebholz both treated me very well. But after we beat Cal to go 6-6, they hired Chip, and then I stayed on and coached a bowl game against Kansas State, where went up 17-0, but lost 30-17 against them in the bowl game. But loved the kids, enjoyed coaching Josh, and Josh was drafted, 10th overall, so that was a pretty cool thing.
And was that the first time you were ever in a position where you were the head coach?
Yes.
And for a first-time experience, what was that like for you?
It was great to be able to lead a team. It was not the type of circumstances you ever want to do it in. Loved Jim. Wasn't planning on going there didn't want it to be a short tenure, wanted to help Jim turn it back around. He's, I think, a great coach. He got to another bowl game. I considered his team getting to the bowl game, so in his 6 years, they got to 5 bowl games. Took over, for Rick, who recruited extremely, extremely well. And so there were some really good players on that roster and did a really good job there. So it was a good couple games to be the head coach, but I saw myself as the offensive coordinator there.
Have you ever crossed paths with Chip? Maybe even been in the clinic he's given?
I've crossed paths throughout, at different times throughout our careers. I think I met him originally when I was at the University of Miami. I was the offensive coordinator, and he came down for a couple days. We spent probably about a day and a half together at different times throughout the day. And then in 2013, we spoke about me going to work for him in Philadelphia. I took the offensive coordinator job in Jacksonville. And but we had a really good conversations. We played them in 14 when I was in Jacksonville and he was in Philly. And then I came across him plenty different times throughout the years. We have mutual friends, and I really like Chip. I think he's a great coach and a great guy to be around.
Time for a couple more, Jason, and then Michael.
There was a little bit of uproar with the walk-on thing when he tweeted and all that. Can you just explain the
Sure.
beginning behind the timing and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So normally you have a walk-on tryout sometime either in the spring or right at training camp at some point if you have a roster spot open. You can't bring them on the team until you hit your first game. During our deal, we were having the COVID vaccine situation, and I wanted to get our whole team vaccinated before we allowed anybody to come try out with our team. Once we got that done, then we had to have a roster spot open. Because of Title IX, you have to be able to, we had an X amount of roster spots. We wound up having 2 guys go in the transfer portal, which allowed to have 2 spots open, which allowed us to bring in, to try out a couple players. With that being said, you can't really just say, hey, we're looking for XYZ position. So what you have to do is you have to post it for NCAA compliance purposes, and you have to say it's a tryout. If anybody wants to try out, you're available to do so, and then we'll see what the roster looks like. So we've done this at Miami. We've done it at Michigan. Both of those times were in season. I remember watching, I think South Carolina or Clemson did a kicking tryout a couple years ago. It's all the same thing. You can't do it like the NFL where you say, hey, every Tuesday we're going to bring a couple guys in to work out. So you just have one tryout during the year. If you have a roster spot open, which we happen to have 1, maybe 2 open, let them try out and then see if there's a spot open to help us practice.
We'll finish up with Michael.
Jimmy Doherty came directly from the UCLA staff. Is there an actual advantage to that for you in some shape or form, or is that just more of a media creation?
Yeah, Jimmy knows everything they're going to do. No, I think that it's certainly an advantage because Jimmy was there for 4 years. Was with me at first in 17. I brought him from Michigan. And then he was our wide receiver coach. And then Coach Kelly kept him, and he was there for 3 years. So everybody on that team, he was a part of either recruiting or practicing against or coaching. So he has a good feel for what they do or what they're doing. He obviously recognizes the talent of a Kyle Phillips and a Chase Cota. They got an outstanding tight end. He saw what they can do. I think he can certainly share with us some of the things that he knows, but Coach Kelly knows that also, and we're not going to certainly rely upon anything but film study and really recognizing what we've seen the last 4 weeks.
Sure, and one last one for you, this is totally unrelated to that.
Sure.
You guys are kind of in the middle of the pack in kickoff return average in the Pac-12, but there have been several instances where you haven't made it to the 25-yard line, which you would be able to do if you fair caught. What's your philosophy/strategy regarding those kickoffs that are maybe right around the goal line?
Yeah, I think that's a great decision you have to make going into the game. Teams don't really practice covering kicks like they used to because you can fair catch a ball anywhere inside the 20 and get your touchback. So you don't have to necessarily constantly cover, where normally it would just be only if the ball landed in the end zone. So sometimes we make a decision on, do we feel like our return game could give us an advantage over just, let's call it the traditional, take a knee, get the ball at the touchback. So each week we look at it and we say, is this a team that is accustomed to just kicking touchbacks all the time? So therefore they don't cover, as much in practice. They don't work it as much. We also look at, do we feel like Tavion or Michael or, do we have a speed advantage? Is there somewhere do we have a return schematically like we had against Oregon? We didn't execute the return, but, we're down 8 points. We practiced for 2 weeks to throw back with Jamari throwing it back to Michael. Now, we just threw it forward 1.5 yards instead of backwards. But those type things, you have to practice and you have to take it out of the end zone sometimes. Otherwise, it always looks like it's a gimmick if you don't.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate everybody.